What's up, guys? It's Michael, owner of Limitless Automotive right here in Ennis, Texas. Today, I'm going to talk to you about engine cooling systems. Why? Because it's getting colder outside. And whenever it gets cold outside, that's whenever engine cooling systems tend to fail. Now, I don't know who started calling that little light on the dash a sailboat, but we had a client come in the other day and they said that their sailboat light came on. And it was pretty funny. I had to kind of educate them on what that was, and in short, it's not a sailboat. It's your engine coolant temperature light. Now, the consequences of ignoring that can be an $18,000 repair down the road. I'm gonna get into that later. Now let's get into what your cooling system actually is. A lot of people get your cooling system and the AC system confused. Why? Because they think that the cooling system cools you down. That's wrong. The cooling system cools your engine down. Cooling systems take antifreeze and AC systems take refrigerant. They're two completely different systems. Now, when it's cold outside, this coolant becomes your best friend. Why? Because this cooling system disperses hot coolant throughout your heater core, which your blower motor then blows air through that hot heater core, which is how you get hot air. That's how your heater works. When people have leaks, they tend to just top off the cooling system with water. And this is where it can get dangerous really fast. Now, let me talk to you about how the cooling system actually works. So whenever you pop your hood, you have this clear tank, also known as the coolant reservoir. It has a max line and a min line. That's the fill lines of where you're supposed to keep that coolant level filled. What happens is you fill this tank and it goes all the way to your radiator. It fills the radiator. It fills the hoses that go to the engine. And then inside of those hoses, right before the engine, you have what's called a thermostat. This thermostat is mechanically operated. So as soon as that thermostat reaches a certain temperature, that thermostat will open up and allow for the coolant to flow through the engine powered by the water pump. Once that coolant goes through your engine, it absorbs the heat that your engine has created and it sends it throughout to your heater core. From your heater core, it sends it back to your radiator, which is then cooled off by your engine cooling fans. Your engine cooling fans get turned on once that engine coolant temperature sensor reads that the coolant is at a certain temperature, typically 220-ish. I've seen 227, 228 on some vehicles. I've seen 210 on some vehicles. But that engine coolant fan turns on after it reaches a certain temperature, which sucks air through those radiator fins. Once that air gets pulled through those radiator fins, it cools off that radiator, which is holding that coolant, which in turn cools off that coolant and then allows to cool your engine off again. And it's just a cycle that continues. What can go wrong? Now, here's where it starts to get tricky. Those gaskets and seals that hold this cooling system together, they can go bad due to time, mileage, age, rough weather. There's also a built-in safety feature on the water pump called a weep hole. And once you start leaking from the weep hole, that's the water pump's way of saying, hey, it's time to change me out. If you start noticing coolant under your car or start smelling a sweet, syrupy, burning smell, that's your first warning sign. A lot of people will ignore that, top it off with water, and just keep driving. But that's how small problems turn into big problems. Whenever you mix water with coolant, the mixture gets weaker and weaker, and as soon as we get one good freeze, there goes cracks everywhere. You have a cracked radiator, you have cracked hoses, you have a cracked engine block. And you go from a small problem to a major problem real quick. The consequences. Let's talk about what happens whenever your engine overheats. First, your cylinder heads can warp. This allows for water and oil to mix. And this is whenever you see that milky substance inside your oil cap or on your dipstick. At that point, it's time for a head gasket. And hopefully, we didn't hydrolock the engine. This means that water got into the bottom of the engine, mixed with the bearings, and now you have your engine trying to compress water instead of air, which will bend and break internal parts. And let's please hope you don't have a luxury vehicle. Speaking of luxury cars, We had a client, they had a 2022 Audi A7, very nice car. They had this car for roughly 6 months. They bought it from a car lot, a buy here, pay here car lot. They had an extended warranty, and one day their car just didn't start. They thought it was a battery, so they sent it to us. As soon as we got the vehicle from the tow truck, we went out and noticed that the battery was dead. It had 0 volts. We went ahead and tried to charge it. It did not hold the charge. It had 0 volts and 0 cold cranking amps. At that point, it's time for a new battery. We got the new battery approved through the warranty company and then proceeded to put the new battery on. As soon as we put the new battery in and we tried to crank the vehicle, we got that one single click, which I've talked about this in another video, but that's a nightmare sound, one single click. So our technicians, they put a long ratchet on there and they tried to turn the crank manually. The crank did not turn. So the next thing we saw after we had that hood open, because the battery was actually in the back of the vehicle, when we popped the hood to turn the crank, we noticed that the coolant reservoir, which is supposed to be a clear tank up in front of the engine, was not clear. It was very dirty. So we opened up that reservoir, and as soon as we opened it up, we noticed, looked like someone took a white chocolate mocha frappuccino from Starbucks and just poured it inside of there. That's what was inside the reservoir. So I had my technician go ahead and pull off that oil filter housing, and sure enough, inside of the oil filter housing, white chocolate mocha frappuccino. And this told us that the customer drove this car and did not maintain it at all. They didn't pay attention to any of the warning signs. They drove this car to complete failure. That engine alone from Audi was $18,000, and we had to get it from Germany. The warranty company declined the repairs because the customer did not maintain the vehicle and did not have any records of maintaining the vehicle. Do not ignore the warning signs. Maintain your vehicle. You can save a lot of money by maintaining your vehicle. So if you take anything away from this video, let it be this: check your coolant level. Also, that sailboat is your coolant temperature gauge. Don't let it get too hot. If you notice that needle going to the H, pull over somewhere safe, turn your vehicle off, let it cool down. If you're anywhere near Ennis, swing by Limitless Automotive. We'll do a quick inspection of your cooling system. We'll do a pressure test. We'll ensure that the coolant that you have is up to par with what you need in your vehicle. If it's water only, we can do a drain and refill of what your vehicle needs. If you're not in Ennis and you're in a different city, find a trusted mechanic shop. Have them check your whole cooling system, your radiator, your water pump, your thermostat, your heater core, and all your hoses. You want to be prepared for this winter. I appreciate you guys watching. If you learned anything today, hit that like button, drop a comment. If you have any coolant horror stories, drop that story down below. I want to hear what your story you've had before. I appreciate you guys watching again. My name is Michael. Stay limitless.